Welcome to episode 43 of The Leap Home. 8.5 months.
In this week's episode, Sam has to help the pregnant 16-year-old he's leaped into find a solution that will allow her to keep the baby she's about to have. With her father firmly opposed to the idea, the baby's father unable to support a family, and even the friend who has supported her through the pregnancy reluctant to offer the baby a home, can Sam persuade any one of them to relent before he has to give birth? Or will this be one leap that ends painfully?
I'm having hot flashes.
You're not having hot flashes.
Yeah, right, and I'm not having cravings, but I'm sitting here eating Jell-O and onions. Al, read my lips. Now I'm pregnant.
Good afternoon, Ian. How are things?
I'm a bit warm. Gerry, how are you?
I'm sitting here eating Jell-O and onions.
You do that every week.
Of course, who doesn't?
Yeah, exactly. This episode gets into some of the questions we've been asking every week.
Well, I think this episode raises more questions than answers.
It's a very unsatisfactory answer, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't get it, I'll be perfectly honest.
And it kind of resolves itself in a bit of a hurry. We'll get to that at the end of the episode.
That's exactly what I've noted. They just sort of wrap things up. Yeah, that'll do it.
That's us reached 43 minutes, so we need to...
Back gone. Yeah, it was quite unsatisfactory. How are things with yourself anyway?
Not too bad, Gerry. How are you getting on?
I'm okay. Preparing for this year's snooker venture.
Oh yes, we've got the annual spreadsheet to set up.
We have.
Today's Judgment Day. People won't know what that means, but in real time the last round of qualifiers has been played.
I've not even been keeping up with it. You'll need to tell me later on.
There's 4 Scottish guys playing in today's games.
Is McGill?
McGill, Maguire, Donaldson and Dot.
Dot, is she? Yeah, okay.
Also the Hawk is playing.
Is it in the qualifiers?
Yeah.
Dropped out the top.
People aren't going to know what we're talking about.
No, so let's move on.
Very, very swiftly to socials, which people love to hear about. We are at Leap Home Podcast on Instagram and on Twitter, where you can get hold of us for a chat about Quantum Leap at any point. We're also at The Leap Home on Facebook. Our show notes are found at theleaphome.com. And if you want to hear next week's episode already, go to Columbo Podcast Productions on YouTube, where you will find it. And if you hit like, you subscribe, and you hit the bell, you'll be notified every week when the new episode comes out. Also reviews.
Yes, please, yeah. Do that.
We like that.
Whereabouts?
Well, you can do it on IMDb or you can do it on Apple Podcasts. They're probably the best places. We should incentivise it in some way. Read out the best reviews.
We could do that.
We've never done that.
We haven't, no. We get a lot of good reviews.
We do. Anyhow, shall we chat about a pregnant lady?
Let's crack on.
Usual intro, and then we get the tag. So last week, I think, again, it leaped into a repeat, so we've not seen this scenario play out yet.
Are you sure?
Pretty sure.
I think we did.
Or did we?
We did.
Are you sure?
No.
No, I'm almost certain we didn't.
Okay.
So Sam's leapt into a hospital patient. He's on a gurney and he's a bit panicked. He tries to get up.
Yeah, he's surrounded by medical staff yelling medical terms, and don't want to be unkind, but a garish looking woman telling her baby will be all right.
Yeah. There's stirrups on the bed they're trying to put him onto, and he's not happy about that. And when he sees himself in the mirror, he realises what's going on.
Yeah, he gets very agitated as he looks at a young girl staring back at him.
A heavily pregnant young girl.
Oh yeah, that as well.
We get the usual oh boy before we hit the credits.
And when we return, we are told it's what date?
So it's November the 14th, 1955.
Is it not the 15th?
He says 14th.
Ah, right, it must be the day before then.
Okay, so does it come up on the screen and say 15th?
I think it does.
Okay, so Sam...
Or the credits in IMDb refer to it as the 15th.
Right, okay, so when Sam is later in the car with Dottie, he refers to it as 14th.
Yeah.
There you go.
In any case, he cannot believe what is happening and tries to resist when a doctor reminds the little lady that they have a baby to pull out.
I've noted right at the start, we're about to find out whose body it is when Sam goes leaping.
Yes, but do we? I'm not happy with the explanation.
I didn't know they were going to address the question, but we should probably save until they actually do address the question to discuss it.
Before we get to that, it's interesting that potentially Sam is going to feel some real physical pain in a leap. I'm not sure we've had that before. Obviously, he's been punched in the face as a boxer.
Yeah.
But this is something that he can't control.
He got blinded by lights at one point.
Yeah. But this is something he knows is happening, and it's something more than... it's more long term. It's an uncomfortable.
Sure. I suppose the question is, will he feel it? That's the next thing.
Yeah.
So he thinks instinctively it's his body, it can't be pregnant, he needs to delay things here.
Yeah, he barricades himself using a bed against a door, and he's been told that he's being irrational when he says it's not coming right now.
Yeah, so the position that he adopts would seem a little bit eccentric to the people around him, I imagine.
Yeah. So what can Sam can't see. Let's chat about this just now. Sam has to look in the mirror, so he sees himself when he looks down.
Yes, and he can see that he's not pregnant.
Or does he? No, he doesn't see himself. What does he see when he looks down? We only see Sam in a mirror.
Yeah.
But he must see himself.
Well, we never really see it from his point of view, I don't know.
Yeah, we discussed this before. When he looks down...
No, Al doesn't. Al sees the other person.
Yeah.
Remember, he's perved on Sam before when he's been a woman.
Exactly.
So...
I think Sam sees that as well. I think Sam sees the body of the leapee.
Okay.
There'll be some obvious giveaways to who he is each week. If he's a child, if he is a woman, if he's a black person,
Well, it makes
he will
sense.
immediately be
So
able
when
to
he
tell
looks in
that.
the mirror, he definitely sees them.
Yeah.
So why would it be different looking directly?
Yeah,
the mirror's not doing anything other than being a mirror.
Exactly. The mirror is for our benefit.
Yes. If Sam sees the leapee in the mirror, he must see the leapee if he looks at his hands or looks at his legs.
Yeah. Okay. He must see the pregnant body as well.
You imagine so.
So what are we saying then? If he actually sees the
But
pregnant...
he knows it's not his body. He knows that's just an aura. He's about to explain that.
Also, I think you're at it as well, because you mentioned this last week, and I think you've looked ahead or read ahead, because you were very specific.
I've read fan forums and stuff, people about the episodes that we've watched, and obviously those people have got...
I thought you were trying to set me for that trap. You were asking me if I thought it was an horror, and last week I said, no.
No, I've just seen that phrase so many times with folk discussing it, yeah. And also, I've seen later episodes.
Yeah, okay. I don't buy this whole horror thing. Okay, in one hand, it might be because we've seen that he has Sam's strength, so man strength, before, when he's been a kid, like last week, whatever it is, he stopped his father. And when he's beating up bad guys as a smaller woman, that seems to work as well.
And when he's blinded, but you can see.
But on the other hand, he was able to be a heavyweight boxer when he's clearly not a heavyweight.
Well, he looked like a heavyweight to them.
No, but if it's only an horror, he won't have the strength of that boxer, the power. He'd be easily over.
Maybe he just had enough strength of his own.
No.
He made up for it with technique.
And when he's doing the trapeze act, those people are incredibly... They're like gymnasts, obviously.
But again, Al was still coaching Sam to do the trick.
No, but you can't coach someone who... I couldn't work a trapeze or be a gymnast right now.
Because your muscles aren't trained the right way.
They're not trained. These guys are pound for pound, some of the strongest people are around, a gymnast. And it's very specific muscles that you're using.
And more importantly, how did he fit in the kid-sized t-shirt last week?
So there you go. Precisely. He was wearing the clothes of a kid. So his body must, he's in that body because it fits those clothes.
But he's not.
But he is. This is nonsense.
It's two things at once.
He's leaping into a body.
Apparently not.
Yeah, and I don't buy it. I think they're just trying to...
Yeah. Anyhow, we hear somebody refer to him as Billie Jean, so we know that's the girl's name.
She's not his lover.
No, she's literally him.
Do you think this is the first time Sam's leapt into a 16-year-old? Let's move on.
Yeah. He insists the baby's not coming right now and refuses the doctor's offer to carry out an examination. Now, I thought it was quite interesting that they accepted this. I thought they might be more sort of, you're a stupid little girl, you don't know what you're talking about.
Well, they do. They are sort of like that. The doctor's creepy.
The doctor's very creepy.
He firstly refers to her that sort of patronising way, like little girl, which he can maybe get away with.
And he gets the nurses to leave.
Yes, and then he starts stroking her hair.
Yes.
Doctor Creep.
Yeah.
I think he says to her, listen, it's not up to me, in fact, it's not up to you. Your body will do whatever it's got to do.
So why does Sam reply to that with, that's not true?
Well, he asks questions. He talks about the contractions.
Sam says they've stopped and his waters haven't broken.
Yeah, so I think the doctor's just saying, right, well, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, but then Sam gets into this really weird conversation where the doctor's saying, your body will know what to do. And Sam's like, you'd be surprised, it might not. So why is he doing this?
Well, I think that he's just making it's a joke, isn't it, about, you've got...
It's a joke for the audience about him being a man.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make sense for him to say that to the doctor.
No, it doesn't. But, the doctor knows at this point the patient is a bit hysterical anyway.
Dramatic license.
Yeah.
We next see Sam in a car with a woman in bright red lipstick who we saw right at the start.
Yeah, the garish looking woman. She's, again, unfair to call her a bit trashy looking, but she's certainly got lots of lipstick on. And
she has lipstick on and she has blonde permed hair, doesn't she?
Yeah, it's almost as if it's perhaps 10 years. Her dress is 10 years too old for her.
Yeah.
Or too young for her. She's 10 years too old for how she's portraying herself.
We learn her name is Dottie as we see them driving through a sort of industrial area.
Yeah, I mean, Dottie's, it turns out she's a very nice person.
She's a supportive friend to Billie Jean.
Yeah, so he's been discharged and he's riding back home with Dottie in a 50s style car.
Dottie, Sam notes, signed the form to get him out of the hospital as a friend, so she's not a relation.
Yep.
He knows that he is 16 and that it's the 14th, as we said, of November 1955, and he's of the view that Billie Jean can use every friend she can get.
He also has worked out that he is leaving Claymore, Oklahoma.
There's a big sign that says you're now leaving Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And we next see them arriving at what I think is both Dottie's home and her salon.
Yeah, I think she's set up a salon, a hairdressing, a beauty place, working from her, one of her rooms.
It's a nice big house she's got.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. They arrive there, and Dottie initially seems more concerned about someone called Leola as she rushes inside.
Yeah, well, I think what's happened is they've left halfway through Leola's haircut to take Sam to the hospital.
No, it's a perm and a dye job.
Indeed. And when they get inside, Leola's not happy.
She's not, and we see Sam sort of lollop in. Again, so this is the thing that we'll have to discuss. If it's only an hour, Sam's walking like a pregnant person. He's holding his back. He's sore. He can't walk properly.
Well, apparently he did a lot of research.
Did he? Yeah.
Apparently.
Okay. Anyway.
So,
yes. He comes in. He's holding his back, and he finds this. What's her name?
Leola.
She's having a go at Dottie for running out on them.
Yeah, because her hair's gone purple, which was not the intended. Was it maybe a blue rinse she was getting or something
like that? I don't know. No, maybe it's just blonde
peroxide.
Yeah.
She calls Sam a two-bit hussy.
She's a horrible character, Leola.
She's not the only one. They all seem a bit hostile to Sam.
Yes. I mean,
I think more than you would expect.
Yes, I'm not sure more than you'd expect, but more than what is pleasant, certainly. And I think there's a touch of, I mean, I don't know, maybe I just picked up wrongly, but I think she's also a bit of a racist.
Oh, she's definitely racist.
Is she?
We learned that she wouldn't allow the black girl who works there to fix her.
There's a young girl working there. Is she obviously Effie, part-time, helping out, that type of thing. Okay, I thought, she's a bit of a racist, but it might well just be that
she only trusts her hairdresser.
Yeah, you
could explain it both.
You don't want the young girl who's effectively a trainee or a...
Effie thinks it's racist because she said she wouldn't let my brown hands near her.
Yeah.
It's maybe this episode's written by Deborah Pratt, so it's bound to be a racism element.
Sure.
That might be unfair.
Well, she does like
it's
that type of story.
In these stories, yeah. Sam, for some reason, decides it'd be funny to say that, your purple hair will be big in the 80s.
Yeah, I think he says it's very punk.
Yes. Neither phrase makes any sense to Leola, who wants to know where Hades is. And it's certainly not in Oklahoma.
Yeah. So he's helped by Effie into a seat, and I think Leola says that to Dottie that their friendship's over.
Yes, but before that, Effie suggests that she could use Miss Parker's wig, but Leola calls that a cootie's nest and says she won't be sitting foot back in this two-bit snake pit of a beauty shop, as thanks to that harlot, they're no longer friends.
It's a bit... I mean, again, I suppose there's two things here. I can understand if you were in to get your hair dyed blonde and the owner ran out and you end up with pink hair, it's all dried and frazzled, you would be raging.
But if it's your fault, you won't let the person who works there...
Yes, exactly. And also, you have to look at the bigger picture. You say, there's someone needing to go to have a baby. It's an emergency.
Yeah. Well, they don't view that. They view it as her own problem that she's brought on herself.
Yeah. She storms out as a guy called Keeter enters, and he's a scumbag as well.
Yeah, but on her way out, she warns Dottie that Sam isn't her problem and will ruin everything she's worked for.
They're not happy with this helping. I mean, I suppose it's maybe in that day and age, in that place, it's a scandal.
It is still the 50s. We know what Al thinks about the 50s from previous episodes.
Yeah. So obviously they're helping someone out here. They're helping Sam out, and they think this is not the right thing to do. That it's not her responsibility, and that Dottie is a girl of ill repute, probably. Yeah, not Dottie.
Sam.
Sam, yes.
Yeah. So you mentioned this guy Keeter, who's either a really nasty piece of work or an undiagnosed military veteran who's got PTSD of some kind.
Yeah, it was certainly a nasty piece of work. That's for sure.
Yeah, he wants to know what's happened to Leola's hair as if it's his business.
Yeah.
So you give the impression that maybe he's invested here or involved in this.
No, we find out he is.
Yes.
He's
He's just the boyfriend at the moment of Dottie.
yeah.
Although obviously he's maybe picturing for himself acquiring this business as part of a marriage.
I'm sure it will be part of his lifestyle.
Yeah, so he's unhappy that a good customer has been chased away.
Now, she, or is it Sam, stutters in response about having to go to the hospital, and so Keeter turns on Dottie, who defends her decision, despite it being a false alarm.
Yeah, and this is where Effie tells them that Leola wouldn't let her take down the hair, and the other women back her up. The other women who are getting their hair done back that up.
Keeter, he doesn't care. He blames Sam for losing a regular customer.
Yeah, well, for no reason at all, Sam just pipes up with, "Oh, there must be something I can do." Why? Why would there be something you can do, Sam?
But Dottie tries to act quite nonchalant and insists that she'll be back, and doesn't think that Sam would have any luck in trying to talk her around.
No, but she does say that she and Leola have been through more messes together than a fly in a manure pile.
Yes.
I thought it was quite a good line.
So Sam's told to put up his feet in the parlour to stop some swelling, and at this point Al arrives.
Well, before that though, Keeter offers Sam some advice.
What was that?
He says that you should drop the kid and then get rid of it before there's any more trouble.
Yeah.
Oh, it's actually Al has arrived at that point because he rolls his eyes.
Yeah. They head through to the parlour, or Sam does, where he can catch up with his friend.
Billie Jean was in full labor when you leaped in, Sam. It took every doctor on the staff to stop her. Not to mention the shock she went into when she caught a glimpse of your reflection in those OR lamps.
Al, what if she has her baby in the future?
Well, Ziggy's very worried about that. He says there's an 86% chance that when you leap out and Billie Jean leaps back, the baby could stay in the future.
She loses her baby?
Well, she loses it anyway. In the original history, Billie Jean put her baby up for adoption. Then she regretted it, and she spent the rest of her life trying to find her.
So I'm here to change that.
Apparently, yes.
How long until she has her baby?
According to Ziggy, about 36 hours, unless you have it first.
What are you talking about?
I can't have a baby.
I know that, but Ziggy's not so sure.
I'm sure. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. There's no way that I could possibly have a baby. How could I carry it?
Okay, calm down. You're gonna find yourself going back into labor.
I wasn't in labor.
Well, Billie Jean was.
Oh.
And Ziggy says that your brain waves are linked into her emotions and they're cross-channeling into the baby.
Baby's not here.
Well, never mind the baby's not here. The baby is connecting with your mood swings. Ziggy says you're bonding.
Bonding?
Yes, bonding, and that's a good thing in case you deliver before Billie Jean leaps back.
I'm a man.
Yeah.
I can't have a baby. Men cannot have babies.
Yeah, I can't.
Oh.
You don't look so good, Sam.
Just feeling nauseous.
I think we can all agree that although men cannot have babies, they can have the right to have babies.
Yeah, well, of course. Is that from Monty Python?
Yes.
Yeah, so I must admit, I'm confused. I don't really understand.
I don't think they understand either at this point.
No.
And I think it's written kind of ambiguously so that
They can change it.
at any point in the future.
Yeah.
So anyhow, yes, Sam's headed through to puke or throw up, if we're going to speak in ladylike language. And he then comes back and wants Al to make certain that Ziggy can't be right that he could physically have this baby. Because obviously he's concerned, on the one hand, he's a man, he can't have a baby, on the other hand, he's having these symptoms of pregnancy.
So what was Al's explanation? That he's somehow just...
It's just a connection because he's leaped in and the baby's influence, they're kind of influencing one another. Because he's having first trimester symptoms.
Yeah.
Even though the baby's due the next day. So his body's just learning about...
How would that work? But if you're connecting with...
I don't know.
In any case, they agree that Billie Jean is in the waiting room. And this is just the illusion of her physical aura. Yeah.
Yes, this is where Al goes into the explanation. That doesn't explain how the t-shirt fit him last week.
It doesn't, no.
Anyhow, Sam therefore wants to know why does he feel nauseous, but Al thinks maybe he's psychosomatic.
Yeah. Which apparently happens to a lot of... I'm not sure if that is the case.
No. Al is trying to persuade himself, I think, that Sam's just got the flu and it's completely unrelated, but Sam needs to sleep.
Yeah, now, is this the bit where Sam wants to know who the father is?
Yeah, but he's half asleep as he does, as he asks. Al says the father... No, he says that he talked about Billie Jean's family. So her mother's dead. Her father won't see her at the moment. But he gives Sam the father's address. Like his own father, like Billie Jean, not the baby's father.
Yeah, I think his name is Bob and he works for, or he's a foreman at Kip Petroleum.
Yes.
And Sam's taking this in, but he's also a little bit like Dorothy in the Poppy Field and Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, he's kind of halfway to passing out.
Yeah, he's just drifting and doesn't really, he just wants to sleep. We all know how that feels.
Absolutely. And as he dozes off, that's how I feel at the start of match of the day every Saturday night. I wait up till 10:30 and I can't stay up to watch the game. Anyway, you can see in Al's face that he's concerned at this point.
Yeah. So do we mention there that Billie Jean's father is refusing to have anything to do with... Yeah. Okay.
So they head over to Kip Petroleum, which it turns out is the industrial area that they drove through earlier on, I think.
Yes, and as they do, Sam thinks to himself that how he spent the night drinking water and peeing and wondering what he is going to say to Bob.
Yes, but he is convinced at this point that Billie Jean and the baby belong together.
Dottie asks if he is sure that he doesn't just want to wait until after the birth has happened.
Well, this is strange though. So at this point she says, have the baby and it'll melt his heart. But later on she talks as if, why are you not giving it up for adoption?
Yeah.
As if she didn't consider any other possibility. It's a bit... I don't understand. Anyhow, Sam wants to go and speak to the father, her father.
Yeah, coincidentally, Bob walks past at this point and he's not happy to be called over by Dottie. And for some reason, Sam states that he didn't realise they knew each other, but she shouted on him.
Yeah.
So she knew, who he was.
Well, that's what he's saying. He didn't realise that Dottie and Bob were familiar with one another. Although, why would he assume that they didn't?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
No. Yeah, but Bob mentions that they went to high school together, and I think she seems a little bit offended, as she considered it more than just being classmates. So obviously
he's not wanting to get into this sort of conversation right now. Anyway, some of the men who work there are sniggering in the background, including a wee kid in a baseball cap.
And they're sent away by Bob, who insists that they have nothing to talk about, but does relent when encouraged by Dottie. So they head into this this office hut.
Yes, and Bob takes off his hat and says that he's heard from Miss Thaler at the adoption agency.
Yes, about the intention to give the baby up. Now, I don't know if you noticed this, but as they talked, maybe just entirely coincidental, but there was machinery operating in the background, and it sounded like the first two notes of Jaws.
Did it?
Yes. Anyway, Sam reveals that he's going to keep the baby now, and he needs Bob's help, but who does he direct him to?
Whoever knocked her up.
Yeah, well...
That's a bit dismissive, but I suppose that's how it was.
Yeah, back in the day, I think if you got someone pregnant, you then had that responsibility, and it wasn't necessarily, especially, I suppose, someone that's a working class might not have had the means to feed another mouth.
Yeah. Sam comes up with a more modern point of view for Bob to consider.
Well, yeah, because he says that she needs to marry whoever done the deed.
Bob does, yes.
Yeah, and what does Sam say?
He says that's just one option, but so is bringing up the baby in a loving home with its grandfather.
Yeah, which for once, Sam isn't entirely conservative in this outlook of his.
No, a bit Machiavellian, but yeah. Bob says, however, that he's not going to spend the rest of his life paying for Sam's mistakes. He neither has nor wants a grandchild, and although he is willing to let Sam come home, it needs to be at once he's got rid of the baby.
He turns his back on Sam at this point and he walks out. But we can see, I think, there's a bit of hurt in Bob's eye. He's not entirely, he's not a complete unsympathetic animal.
No, I think he's just kind of following what he thinks is the right thing.
I think he's scared, he's afraid, he's disappointed, he's angry, all these type of emotions, and it's probably quite overwhelming.
And he's got his wife's dead, as we know.
Yeah.
So he's got no one to lean on for support in this either.
Yeah. I think Dottie catches his eye at this point and he sort of drops his head as if, he's a little bit ashamed or embarrassed about the attitude that he's taken.
Maybe, yeah. Back at the salon, Sam reflects on the conversation and thinks that he's lucky he had better parents than Billie Jean.
Yeah. His thoughts are interrupted by the arrival of the Mrs. Thaler that was mentioned from the adoption agency.
Yes.
She's brought the paperwork for her to sign. That raises a question.
What's the question?
Legal documents. Sam won't know what the signature looks like, so if he signs this, it won't be legal. No?
Well, I suppose you've got a witness saying that it was her.
You don't have a witness. Dottie left them. There's two together.
Well, yeah, but Mrs. Taylor can be the witness.
No, you need more than one witness.
I suppose
It's not a witness. That's she's.
the adoption agency, actually, this woman was a lot less aggressive than I expected in trying to get the baby.
Yeah, I've got a note about that. We can get to that. However, at this point, Sam has some questions and concerns.
Mrs. Thaler, if I sign these papers and then I change my mind, can I ever get my baby back? Well, no. Can I ever see her again? No. So then I'll never know where my baby goes.
Billie Jean, honey, where your baby goes is not important.
It's very important.
What's important is that your baby will be with a good family and it will have a wonderful life.
I can't ever know that if I can't see her.
Well, I can.
It's not your baby. It's my baby.
Billie Jean, no one in the world will think that you are a bad person because you wanted a better life for your child.
Mrs. Thaler, I believe in adoption. I really do.
Good. Then let me help your baby find the kind of a life you can't provide it. Not because you don't want to, but because you need to take care of yourself.
You don't understand.
You need to finish growing up, honey, to find out what it is you want to do.
I know what I want to do. I want to keep my baby.
Billie Jean, honey, what has brought on this sudden change of heart?
You know that expression, God works in mysterious ways?
It's one of my favorites.
Well, I think this is one of them. I think that my change of heart is God's way of telling me that he doesn't want me to make another mistake.
Yeah, as you mentioned there, she was perfectly reasonable and considerate. She didn't try to force... Because I'd imagine that she's in an awkward position. She has found a couple and everyone's been agreed.
And also, her job probably makes its money from putting kids up for adoption.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, we don't know if she works for the
I don't think it's a state agency.
You don't think?
Nothing in America is run by the state.
Yeah.
It's bound to be a private company.
Sure. So yeah, on that, she could have been very forceful, and obviously it's a young, vulnerable girl as far as she's concerned, who might be susceptible to a bit of browbeating, bullying, but she didn't do that, and she was nice.
Yeah. Of course, this is around about the time that people in this country were having forced adoptions. There's a big scandal about that. Well, fairly recently the government had to apologise.
Yeah.
Anyhow, Dottie tells Sam that his dad will come around and he's just hurting from the death of his wife. And for some reason, Sam tries to dig into this relationship between Dottie and Bob.
Yeah, I think he noticed that they were more than classmates.
Yeah, I've got a note here. He's doing his thing again. He's trying to get a family. He's going to put Dottie and Bob together.
Yeah, but she literally said that at the...
Yeah, that they were more.
Yeah.
So he wants a bit more information, but she's not going to get into it. She says it's water under the bridge.
Yeah, she giggles and doesn't... she then changes the subject when Sam presses for more information. And she does this by holding onto her stomach, which, fortunately at this point, kicks.
Well, coincidentally. And Sam feels it as well, which is a bit of a strange sensation, I would imagine.
Yeah, this elicits another oh boy, and they both agree that might well be the sex.
Well, yes, Dottie, thinks that's what Sam's saying. A wee bit later on in the kitchen, both Al and Effie, as we heard at the top of the show.
Yeah, is it later or is it the next morning? Because this now might be the 15th we're into, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it must be, because the baby's now due in less than 5 hours. So, yes, Al and Effie are mocking Sam for eating the jello and onions, as we heard, and Effie says that Dottie wants her to come through to the shop when she's feeling better.
So when she leaves, a proud Sam informs Al about the kick he felt and knows it wasn't just gas, as Dottie also experienced it.
Indeed, but Al says the baby is in the future, it's not here.
Yes, and therefore it's impossible that the now glowing Sam felt this, but he argues maybe the baby stayed when Billie Jean leapt.
And the womb? I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
No.
It's going nowhere to grow.
But Al, he insists it's impossible and tells him to concentrate on finding a way for the baby to stay with his mother.
The baby indeed is now, as we said, due in less than 5 hours, and Sam's starting to feel the heat.
Yeah, and Al asks about Bob, but Sam tells him it would take a miracle to get him on board. And then Al suggests that he better start praying for one. As you mentioned, the baby is on its way.
I think at this point you can tell that Sam's quite amused by all these symptoms.
As you say, we get the hot flashes from the intro, as we heard, and he's investing in this. I think he's feeling some of the benefits or the sensations that a pregnant woman would feel, and he's understanding why it's such for many people a good time.
Al tells him he needs to get a grip because Billie Jean doesn't even have her high school education yet, and she's got no prospects of getting a job or being able to support this baby.
Sam's quite giddy. He's almost sort of hysterical with laughter.
Yeah, and also, why is Al saying this when has he not already told Sam that his job's to have her not lose the baby?
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, Sam thinks he has the solution.
He does. He thinks Dottie may well support him and heads through to where she's sitting with Keeter.
He's just making this. Why is he making this assumption that Dottie will just look after?
Because Dottie's been helping, I guess.
Yeah, your friend doesn't. That's one thing being a friend when you're pregnant.
Yeah, it's a big ask, isn't it?
So we're now in the salon area. Sam has walked through and is heard talking to himself, apparently by Dottie and the boyfriend Keeter, as Al advises him to handle the situation with care. So he understands that this isn't, as we said, this is a big ask.
However, after a few words from Dottie about what's best for this baby, Sam blunders in and gets Keeter's back up. Yeah,
he surprises them by revealing he's decided against giving up the child and suggests that it may be that he is supposed to have the baby in his life. And she tells him that may be fine if he had a husband and a home. But then the unsympathetic arse that is Keeter revels in his lack of support.
Yes, but Sam has an idea, or he has this idea that he's explained to Al, and he comes out with it now.
Yeah, he asked Dottie to help him, causing the outraged Keeter to leave for the pub.
Which upsets Dottie. And not just because he's left, but also because what Sam has asked goes beyond what she thinks is fair.
And I think that is understandable.
Although what she says now doesn't fit with what she said at the petroleum plant.
What was that?
When she said he should have the baby and then it would melt Bob's heart.
Yeah, but she wasn't saying have the baby and I'll look after it.
Yeah, but now she's saying you have to give it up. I suppose that's because the talk with Bob failed, maybe.
And also because now that it's the onus is on her, or some responsibility has been directed towards her. So she's saying, no, well, you can't do this. Not only because her business will be affected, but she says here that Keeter would leave her.
Yeah, I'll tell Sam that that's going to happen anyway, but when he realises it to Dottie, she's not very receptive.
No, you wouldn't be.
No. Yeah, your boyfriend's going to leave you. Get out. She does, I mean, she's not unreasonable. She does say to Sam that you can work here part-time, but you can't have the baby here. That makes sense. You can't work and be looking after a baby at the same time.
Yeah, well, you can work part-time, but someone would have to look after it for the other time. So she says, yeah, look, you must give the baby up. And he says that if he does, he will lose it forever. And then she responds that if he doesn't do it, she's going to lose Keeter.
Yes.
And at that point, I think, is when Sam mentions that that's on the cards anyhow.
Yeah, which is, that doesn't go down well at all.
So she begins to cry and runs off, leaving Al to point out that Dottie is right and he can't expect her to take on all of his problems.
Yeah, because on her way out, she says that she's done a lot for Billie Jean, but she won't give up her life.
Yeah, I totally agree, yeah.
Fair.
Sam tries to put a ridiculous spin on it by claiming that it may be a chance for Dottie to love someone because Keeter leaves her. I mean, where's she getting this from? That's his only opportunity. That she's been looking for love her entire life, and somehow that she's
figured that out in the last 12 hours. Nah. Sam at this point wonders out loud who else could help, and comes to the conclusion that the only possibility is the baby's father, but Al doesn't know who that is.
No, fortunately, this conversation is overheard by Effie,
who does know who it is.
Yeah, she enters and informs Sam that Willis is probably walking home from work. Will we make a...
What are you talking about, Willis?
Different stroke?
No.
Okay. And also, while we're talking about sort of 70s TV shows, 80s TV shows, Keeter sounds like a character from the Dukes of Hazzard.
I was going to say the Muppets.
Yeah, okay.
Effie warns Sam, though, that Willis is the wrong choice. You don't love him, you're making a mistake if you marry him just to hold on to the baby.
Wise counsel.
Indeed.
So we go to Water Tower Road. This is where...
Well, Sam's finagled this name out of Effie by acting like he's got baby brain.
Yeah.
Yes, and as they get to Water Tower Road, Sam and Al talk.
Yeah, he reminds Al that he needs to find a home for Billie Jean and the baby, or else he won't leap.
He's quite exasperated at this point. He says to Al, if you've got a better idea, I'm willing to hear it.
Well, yeah, there's only 2 hours and 27 minutes before the...
labour begins, yeah.
Yeah.
Or at least until the baby arrives.
And Al warns him not to get his hopes up, as Willis probably doesn't care about Billie Jean.
Sam suggests that Al goes and finds the adult Billie Jean in the future and asks her what would she want him to do.
Now, this is an interesting concept. If Al can communicate with the leapee in the future, there must be many scenarios where they could pass through relevant information to help Sam.
Yeah, but I don't think he can.
Right.
I mean, theoretically, he probably could.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as he does, that can change, and then they weren't there to begin with. It's a paradox.
Potentially, I'm just thinking things like, if you're trying to encourage someone to do something, you could think, what is their favourite drink or a movie or a song that they liked, and then use that to...
But remember that episode he knew the person's favourite drink and she found it really creepy?
Yeah, it was like Groundhog Day stuff. Yeah.
And just then, Willis walks along, and it turns out he is that young boy in the baseball cap who works with Bob, or for Bob.
They realise he's just a boy, and it's no wonder that Billie Jean never revealed his identity, because he'd have probably lost his job then. Or would he have... Would Bob... If Bob wants this person to look at it, to have the responsibility...
Well, I don't know. I think Bob might have said, get a job somewhere else. You're not working for me.
I'm not so sure. I think maybe that...
He's off to college anyway.
Yeah.
Which is probably what she was trying to protect.
In any case, at this point, Al decides to leave them alone to talk, and we discover a bit more about the situation and their relationship.
Hey, Billie Jean.
Willis?
So I guess you're due pretty soon, huh, Billy?
Sooner than you think.
Yeah. Well, at least now it'll all be over.
No, it won't.
You should let Mama Elliot fix things.
Abortion?
It just would have made things a lot easier on everybody.
Well, that's no longer an option. Point is, what do we do now?
I told you. I can't do nothing, Billy. I got my scholarship, Billy. I start school in January. I'm gonna be the first tailor ever who gets to go to college.
Well, that's fine for you, but what about me and the baby?
You told me you were gonna give it up.
Well, I can't.
You have to. What the hell are you gonna do? You ain't even finished high school.
Maybe it's time I did.
Oh, with a baby.
And your help?
I told you. I can't help you, Billie Jean. My scholarship only pays for my tuition. I have to work to earn my room and board. I can't be sending you enough money to keep a baby.
Well, you should have thought about that before you made one.
Well, I didn't make it alone.
Willis goes on to say that he has to get out of this place, and says that if Sam had a lick of sense, he'd give up the baby and also get out of there.
Yeah, I mean, he's frustrated. I think he reminds Sam that it was him who advised him to go to college to make something for himself.
It sounds like they've had an arrangement and Sam's in the middle of undoing it here, because he's not really thought it through.
I mean, it's just really, it's no doubt very common the world over, especially back then, but it's just no one's really to blame here. It's an awkward, horrible situation. There's two kids who made the mistake.
Well, there's also the point we didn't touch on there where he suggested she should have got an abortion at the start of the process.
Yeah.
And Sam says, too late now.
Yeah, and again, back then, but it'd have been illegal, it'd have been backstreet, it wouldn't have been... it's not a good situation. Again, it's hard to find someone who's really at fault here. The two were at it, got himself in trouble. He can't, as he says, I can't help you, really. I mean, I suppose...
Even if I wanted to. I suppose I could drop out of college and take a job that pays a bit more. And
yeah. I think even Sam, you see him, he doesn't try to argue. I think he realises, do you know what?
This isn't the future for the baby that I'm...
This will be ruining 2 lives or 3 lives, I suppose, trying to force him. That's the thing as well. It's a very sort of 50s attitude, 60s attitude. We'll stay together because of the baby.
Yeah.
So maybe what should have happened is, like, it'd be nice to see that he goes off, makes a success of his life, is able to come back and offer support, look after his kid, and, you know, down the line, because he did get a good job, etc.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Rather than staying, if he stays where he is in that little town, they'll do nothing, I'm sure.
He says he's the first tailor to go to college, so he must be excited about that opportunity.
Sure.
For some reason, though, at the end of the conversation, he sprints away.
He really is. He's panicking. He's running. We're showing that he's running away from...
Before she changes her mind.
His baseball cap flies
He
off.
just leaves it,
Yeah, he just wants out of there. One of those things that, like, run, Forrest, run. I need to...
And as soon as he's out of earshot, Sam collapses in pain.
Yeah, before pulling himself back up and starting to walk back to the house. Meanwhile, Effie and Dottie are arguing outside as they change the tyre on the car.
Apparently it's Effie's mother's 50th birthday, so she needs to get home.
And at this point, they see the clearly distressed Sam stumble towards them. He wants to go to the hospital, but of course, the car's not ready. And so Dottie sends Effie to call the doctor and Sam's father, Bob.
As soon as they get inside, a storm begins.
This was very abrupt, wasn't it?
Very. They didn't even talk about it, just heard the rain in the background.
Yeah.
On the couch, Dottie tells Sam not to push, so he doesn't have the baby there and then.
Now, there's bad news. Apparently, there's been some local incident.
A farming one, yeah.
Yeah, so the doctors are all busy taking care of...
Yeah, putting the guy's leg back on.
Yeah. The nurse on the phone advises that Dottie delivered the baby herself. Surely the nurse could come over then. It's a nurse.
You thought somebody could have helped.
Yeah.
There's also no answer from Bob at either home or work.
And so Dottie tells her to go look for him.
Yes, at the petroleum plant.
Yeah, he's probably working outside, she says.
And then she remembers that Keeter can help, so she gives him a call at the pub.
The scumbag, yeah, he's drunk and refuses to help, even when Dottie warns him that they are over if he doesn't.
Well, that's a turn. He calls Sam knocked up trash and says it'll be a cold day in hell, basically, before he helps her.
She's better off without him, for sure.
He slams the phone down, and that's the end of Keeter.
And so, with the contractions being 5 minutes apart, Dottie decides that they will have to change the tyre themselves.
Elsewhere, we see Effie getting a truck.
I was going to say a bit dangerous, but it's maybe a local town.
If you know people, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah. So she's off to the petroleum plant outside the house. Dottie and Sam have apparently changed the wheel in the rain and managed to set off towards the hospital.
For some reason, Sam says to let him drive, even though he's in labour.
I don't get the feeling that even though he's 16, is he past his, can he drive?
Why? Yeah, surely Dottie would be the natural choice for driving, although she does knock over her own sign.
Yeah, but the last time on the way back from the hospital, she was driving. It's her car. She's...
There's no reason for Sam
I'm not
to be
going to
driving.
let a pregnant 16-year-old.
Yeah. Dottie says you're far too busy.
Yeah.
Over at Kip Petroleum, Effie finds Bob and explains what's going on and says Sam looked like she might die, or he might die. And Bob says that she's only 16, she's not going to die having a baby. But Effie has a counter-argument.
Yes, she lets him know that her own sister bled to death in childbirth at the age of just 17.
Basically, she's put the fear of death,
Well, I
his
suppose
daughter's death,
yeah,
into Bob, and that's changing things.
Back then, even in the hospital.
Do you think that's a true story?
Yeah.
Surely Bob would know. Is that not the kind of thing that locally people would have known about?
No, maybe you don't talk about it. It's the type of thing you would talk about.
Yeah.
And also, I think back then, especially
Maybe segregated. You may not
segregated
know.
areas, I think it'd be very, very common. Maybe you would have 7 or 8 or 9 kids, and a couple wouldn't make it. So I don't think it'd be much to gossip about. Really, I think it'd just be sort of common.
Yeah. Back at the hospital, Sam and Dottie arrive. Sam's quite distressed, and Al shows up to tell Sam that Billie Jean is having her baby, but she thinks she's on a spaceship.
Yes. A nurse wheels him into a room and doesn't understand why Sam is breathing in such a manner.
Yeah, he's using a more modern panting technique than they're aware of.
Yeah.
They tell him he's going to hyperventilate.
Al is frustrated because he's trying to explain to the nurse what he's doing, but obviously she can't hear him.
He also tells Sam it's all in his imagination. He's not actually having a baby.
It doesn't make sense. It wouldn't be so vivid.
Yeah.
Anyway, the doctor arrives and Sam catches himself in the mirror again and in a panic begs Al for help.
And as they move him to the delivery room, his father and Effie finally show up.
Yeah. Via a hand link, Al confirms that the head is crowning as the doc orders him to be taken to this room. The baby is due in 4 minutes, but Sam, before they turn up, he shouts for his dad and insists that he won't have it until he is there. I don't understand this. I can just about accept that Sam is in some way connected with Billie Jean, and he's got this bond which causes the feelings right in the aura, etc. But why is Sam shouting for this man he doesn't know?
Because he wants to get him to agree to take them back in so that he can leap before the baby gets born.
If you're in this much pain and discomfort, getting into childbirth, is he thinking this?
I don't know. I assume that's what he's thinking.
Really? Is it that he's now mentally attuned with Billie Jean and that's what she would want?
Maybe. Maybe. When we saw was it Jimmy? He saw that he behaved like Jimmy because folk treated him like Jimmy.
Yeah.
So maybe because folk are treating him like someone's about to have a baby. He's been told you're having a baby in 2 hours.
Yeah.
His body's reacting to it.
Possibly. But anyway, as you said, Bob appears at this point and things get all very real.
Hang on, honey.
Billy! Billy!
Everything's gonna be all right, sweetheart. Everything's gonna be okay.
The baby.
She wants to keep the baby, Bob. She's been saying that for days.
Let's not argue about that now, sweetheart.
Sam, there's a little problem in the waiting room. The baby has disappeared from Billie Jean's womb.
I knew it. I'm having this baby.
Get the idea, Billie
Off
Jean.
the gurney. Okay, here we go. 1, 2. Good.
Get out of here.
No. You have to help me.
Here we go.
Keep the baby.
It ain't right.
For God's sakes, Bob, she's your only daughter.
All right, Billy. You get through this thing okay. We're gonna do anything you want to do.
Oh, hallelujah.
I love you.
Help!
Okay, honey.
Get it out.
It's gonna be all right.
Get it out.
Take it easy, Sam. Everything's okay. Bob marries Dottie, and they help Billie Jean raise the baby. You've done it. You've done it.
I see a head of girls trying to get out, little lady. Give a push.
Sam gives a push and leaps. That was quite a convenient change of heart there from Bob.
Yeah, as you mentioned at the start, I've noted the wrap-up seemed very rushed and not earned. Bob just turns up and goes, yeah, okay, I'm here.
Well, it's not even that he does turn up, because you could understand, okay, Effie's made him scared that she's going to die, he'll turn up and be sympathetic. But he turns up and he still says no. And then Doc's like, go on. Well, change your mind. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Let's say there's no... That storyline didn't really... There should have been another scene or two with him in it. There should have been something
Yeah.
to persuade him.
It also might be the most frenetic leap out that we've seen.
Yeah.
You wonder how he goes from that to immediately being calm at the next place.
So where does he leap? We'll just briefly mention it.
He leaps into a spaceman from the future. His colleague tells him to activate his time machine. Yeah. And as he does, he gives an oh boy.
Okay, discuss that next week. So yeah, I said I'm not convinced, or I'm not reassured that the answers that we have, or the questions that we've asked in the past, have been answered here with this. I think it's just a little bit more confusing.
Yeah.
And it would be interesting, or it will be interesting to see if what they're trying to say in this episode,
if they stick to it,
is applied and it's consistent.
I doubt it.
No doubt we will pick it up if it's not.
So what would have happened if Bob hadn't changed his mind?
It looks like he would have had the baby.
How?
Well, I think the baby's there.
But where's it coming out of?
Billie Jean's body. It's just like his mind.
Not in.
He is in it.
I thought they said he wasn't in it.
No, see, that's what I think. It's just, his presence is leaping into another person's body. So it's his mind in another person's body. So the baby and all that is there.
What would have made sense for what they're saying is if they're looking at this aura of Billie Jean, they're saying the baby's not coming, it's not coming, and they have to do a cesarean or something.
Yeah.
As opposed to, and the reason they can't see it is because Sam doesn't have any way to expel a baby.
Yeah.
But that's not happened.
No.
Who do you think were the most and least reasonable characters in this story?
I think Sam was the most unreasonable, asking Dottie to look after his baby. And obviously...
also, her boyfriend was quite unreasonable.
Keeter and Leola.
Yeah, they were all unreasonable.
Yeah.
Bob was somewhere in the middle.
I think Bob was like, in the end he came round and he was fine.
And Dottie was perfectly reasonable almost all the time.
And Willis was a bit unreasonable. I mean, you can understand why he didn't want to have a responsibility, but at the end of the day, Yes, still responsible.
And Effie was neither reasonable nor unreasonable. She didn't have any sort of decisions to make or input.
No, she was fine.
Yeah. Any other thoughts?
Nah.
Trivia?
Sure.
There's some interesting trivia.
Go for it.
So this aired on the 6th of March, 1991, which is 9 weeks after the previous episode. It's a different day of the week. We'll get to that in the trivia section later on. Directed by James Whitmore Jr. This was the 5th of his 15 as a director. He also played Bob, and it was the first of 3 appearances as an actor. And you can hear more about him.
Oh, that's good. That was Bob, yeah.
Yeah, you can hear more about him in the podcast for Jimmy, or more about his directing. Didn't talk about his acting. Deborah Pratt wrote it. You've heard all about her. Go back to Colour of Truth for the most chat about her background. Dottie was played by Lana Schwab. This was her only Quantum Leap. She also appeared in shows like Murder, She Wrote, The Golden Girls, Married with Children, and she was in The Bridges of Madison County. And her last screen credit was 2005. Keeter was played by Hunter Von Leer, who was in Dukes of Hazzard.
Really?
Yeah. This was his only Quantum Leap. He was in Dukes of Hazzard. He was in Halloween 2.
Good Halloween, yeah.
Appeared in Dallas. He appeared in The West Wing. He's now 79. His last screen credit was 2003. Effie was played by Tasha Scott. Again, her only Quantum Leap. She wrote her own IMDb bio, so if you want to read that, it's quite entertaining.
Okay.
She's also been in Webster, South Central, and she had a recurring role in The Parenthood. And she returned to the screen in 2015 after almost 20 years without any screen credits. She's still active. She's also got a singing career. She's now 50.
Effie is?
Yeah.
Effie's 50?
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, she must have been about 20 there then.
I thought she was only about 13.
I know. That's strange, isn't it? Well, when was this film? 1990?
91? Yeah, 90.
So 33 years ago, so she would only been 17.
I suppose.
Cassie Thaler from The Adoption Agency was played by Anne Haney.
I recognised her.
First of 2 Quantum Leaps for her. She's also been in Star Trek The Next Generation, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Mrs. Doubtfire, Liar Liar, and one Columbo.
I can remember her because what I remember her from, it was Agenda, and she was very nice, and she gave an air freshener for Mrs. Columbo because Oscar was a cigar smoker as well, and she used to use that around the office.
Her character was called Louise.
Yeah.
She was active right up until her death in 2001 when she was 67.
She reminds me a little bit of Jessica Tandy.
Okay. Dr. Creepy Rogers was played by Parley Bear.
What?
Parley Bear.
What sort of name's that?
What's his name? Parley Bear.
All right.
B-A-E-R.
Like Max Bear. Okay.
B-A-E-R.
Yeah, that's the Parley is unusual.
Okay. He was also, it was his first of 2 Quantum Leaps, I should say, for him. Also in Star Trek Voyager, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, obviously. The Incredible Hulk, which we referenced a couple of weeks ago in the Magic episode.
Mm-hmm.
I Dream of Jeannie, also loads and loads of other things. He was a captain in the Army Air Corps during World War II and a circus promoter. He actually worked for Barnum and Bailey after the war, as well as a number of other circuses and zoos.
That's good.
He died in 2002 when he was 88. Leola with the purple hair was played by Anne Walker. This was her only Quantum Leap. She was also in MacGyver, Father of the Bride 2, Diagnosed with Murder, Murder, She Wrote. She's still active. Willis was played by Philip Linton. It's a sad story. It's a sad story.
Oh.
This was his only Quantum Leap. He previously appeared in The Waltons and 21 Jump Street, amongst other things, but he died of AIDS in early 1992, less than a year after this episode aired, when he was just 28.
28, and he was playing a
17, 18-year-old, maybe, yeah.
There you go. That's unfortunate.
One other one at your request is Peggy Walton Walker, who played the nurse that was there at the hospital at the end of the episode.
Yep.
This was her only Quantum Leap. She's also appeared in The Golden Girls. She's appeared in The A-Team. She's appeared in various things. Banachek, Macmillan and Wife. That was a good one. And one episode of Columbo.
Yes.
Which you remember? It's from around about the same time as Quantum Leap. It was actually her previous job before she was in Quantum Leap.
Was it R.I.P. Mrs. Columbo?
It was, and she played a character called Liz Cooper.
There you go.
She's now 74 and she's still active. Some trivia. Okay, so this is a good one. So I talked about this being a 9-week gap and a change of day of the week. So from the start of season 3, when the show was moved to Fridays, there was a campaign led by Donald Bellisario and a leading Quantum Leap fanzine of the time that led to over 50,000 viewers writing to NBC protesting the move. NBC relented, moved it back to Wednesdays, and produced a commercial which you can find on YouTube acknowledging this and promoting the return to Wednesday nights. And the move back was heavily trailed with ads featuring a pregnant Scott Bakula.
Ah. That's good trivia.
Yeah. The shot near the end where Dottie helps Sam into the hospital took over 12 hours to shoot.
Why?
It's just hard to do, apparently. Which is probably why they didn't have time to do a proper ending.
Sounds like it, yeah.
In terms of things we learned, I suppose the mechanisms of leaping.
No, I'm not sure we learned, but anyway, okay.
Sam believes in adoption was one that I noted. That seemed to be one of his views.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No.
On this date, the Leningrad or St. Petersburg metro opened in Russia. 2 days earlier, Whoopi Goldberg was born.
We're not having this 2 days earlier.
2 days is close.
Yeah, there wasn't much going on.
No, you anything?
No, just the number ones. In the US, it was Roger Williams with Autumn Leaves, whilst in the UK, we had the Johnson Brothers with Hernando's Hideaway. I don't recognise either
Hernando's
of those.
Hideaway is from The Boyfriend.
Oh, what's The Boyfriend?
It's a stage musical.
Right, okay.
I believe. I could be wrong.
You're thinking The Bodyguard?
No, I'm pretty sure it's from The Boyfriend. I'm
Okay.
sure it is.
Right.
Next week, we've got Future Boy, where Sam has to save the life of a TV star. So we'll see you in 1957. Until then,
Cheerio.
cheerio.
Bye-bye.